On a clear spring day, March 5, 1966, Haneda International Airport in Tokyo bustled with its usual activity and anticipation. A powerful Boeing 707, belonging to the prestigious British Overseas Airways Corporation, was preparing for a crucial takeoff. Flight 911 carried 124 souls aboard, 113 passengers eager for new experiences, and 11 experienced crew members ready to ensure a safe flight to their final destination, the dynamic city of Hong Kong. At the helm of this aerial giant was an experienced crew led by 55-year-old Captain Bernard Dobson, a man with an impeccable reputation in aviation. Flight 911 was part of a grand journey that began in the heart of London and stretched through picturesque Montreal, sparkling San Francisco, and finally, Tokyo. Among the passengers was a large group of Americans, 75 employees of the successful J.H.M. King Corporation from Minnesota, a well-known manufacturer of refrigeration equipment. The company had generously rewarded its top performers with a 17-day trip through exotic Asia for their outstanding achievements. After 7 days filled with vibrant experiences in Japan, they eagerly anticipated their visit to China. In those years, direct flights between distant cities were more the exception than the rule, and planes often made intermediate stops for refueling and passenger transfers, making each journey a true adventure. British Overseas Airways Corporation chose the reliable 4-engine Boeing 707 for Flight 911, one of the first jet airliners, which had become a symbol of a new era in civil aviation. Initially, after takeoff, Flight 911 was planned to head to Iwo Jima, occupy flight level 310, 9,450 meters, and fly along Air Corridor Juliet Gulf 6 to Hong Kong, following the standard route. However, Captain Dobson, wanting to please his passengers, requested a scenic visual route from the controller, Fuji Rebel Como, to give them the opportunity to admire the majestic Mount Fuji in all its glory. While taxiing to the runway, passengers and pilots unwittingly witnessed a gruesome sight. The wreckage of a Douglas DC-8 aircraft of Canadian Pacific Airlines, which had tragically crashed just 17 hours earlier, was still smoldering, casting a somber shadow on the fragility of life. At 12:58 p.m., the aircraft smoothly taxied onto runway 33L, and the controller, ensuring there were no obstacles, gave the long-awaited permission for takeoff. The powerful Boeing 707 confidently ascended into the clear Tokyo sky and set course for Hong Kong, carrying with it the dreams and hopes of its passengers. Shortly after takeoff, flying over the glittering Tokyo Bay, the crew gained altitude and smoothly turned southwest, passing North Dora. This was followed by another right turn, and the aircraft, moving at an impressive speed of 685 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 4,900 meters, passed Himblett to the northwest. The crew began a smooth descent, heading towards the reef on the leeward side. The sky remained clear and cloudless, but the weather station on the mountain recorded an alarming wind speed of 31 to 36 meters per second, foreshadowing possible difficulties. According to eyewitnesses, a sinister white trail suddenly appeared in the tail section of the aircraft, resembling steam or smoke, causing alarm on the ground. Then, all 3 tail stabilizers responsible for stability and all 4 powerful engines providing thrust separated from the liner. The white trail became increasingly distinct and ominous, foreshadowing an imminent catastrophe. Deprived of its tail section and engines, the Boeing 707 lost control, entered an unrecoverable flat spin, and began to plummet rapidly, leaving behind a trail of despair. At an altitude of about 600 meters, the nose section with the cockpit separated due to excessive G-forces, marking the last hope for salvation, while the rest of the fuselage continued to spin in a mad fall, hurtling towards inevitable doom. At 2:15 p.m. local time, Flight 911 crashed with terrifying force into the slope of Mount Fuji at an altitude of 130 meters above sea level, leaving behind only chaos and destruction. The wreckage of the aircraft was scattered over a vast area spanning 16 kilometers, testifying to the monstrous force of the impact and the nose section fell 300 meters from the main wreckage, becoming a silent monument to the tragedy. All 124 people on board perished, leaving behind grief and sorrow. One of the members of the Japan Self-Defense Forces, who happened to witness the tragedy, managed to take several photographs of the falling plane, which later became a grim reminder of the disaster and a warning for future generations. No traces of smoke were found at the crash site. Amidst the chaotic tangle of debris, an intact 8mm film reel was found, becoming a silent witness to the final moments of the flight. Careful analysis of the wreckage made it possible to reconstruct the tragic sequence of events. The keel and the right horizontal stabilizer were the first to separate, followed by the loss of all 4 engines and part of the right wing. Deprived of control, the airliner spiraled into an unrecoverable flat spin, and the colossal G-forces literally tore the fuselage apart. In the areas of destruction of the tail assembly, in the immediate vicinity of the bolted connections, barely noticeable microcracks were identified. Subsequent inspection of the Boeing 707 fleet revealed similar microcracks in the area of the vertical tail stabilizer attachment on 61 aircraft. However, despite this alarming discovery, further tests unequivocally showed that these defects were not the direct cause of the disaster. Boeing representatives categorically stated that the destruction of the keel could only have occurred under the influence of a load exceeding the maximum permissible by a substantial 110%. During the investigation, close attention was paid to the meteorological situation in the area of the tragedy. Despite the cloudless sky, a Douglas A-4 Skyhawk search plane belonging to the U.S. Navy unexpectedly encountered an area of extremely intense turbulence, forcing the pilot to urgently change course, fearing for the safety of the aircraft. The onboard accelerometer recorded extreme G-forces, reaching values from +9 to -4 G. Pilots of other search aircraft also reported severe turbulence in the immediate vicinity of Mount Fuji. These facts indicated the presence of powerful and unpredictable air currents arising near mountain slopes. The most likely cause of the disaster was identified as abnormally strong turbulence encountered by Flight 911 while flying near the majestic Mount Fuji. The lateral G-forces resulting from this collision significantly exceeded the permissible values for the Boeing 707 structure. The catastrophic consequences were not long in coming. The tail assembly, engines, and part of the right wing separated, which instantly led to a complete loss of control. After the tragic incident, instructions were immediately sent to all airlines, regulating the minimum distances for mountain ranges, and a memorial was erected on the slopes of Mount Fuji in memory of the victims. The Flight 911 disaster was the third major aviation tragedy to occur in the vicinity of Tokyo in just 1 month. 29 days earlier, a Boeing 727 belonging to the Japanese airline All Nippon Airways crashed into the waters of Tokyo Bay while landing, taking the lives of 133 people. On the evening of March 4th, a Douglas DC-8 of the Canadian airline Canadian Pacific Airlines crashed, killing 64 people. Tragically, several people who miraculously survived this disaster were on board the ill-fated Boeing 707 that crashed near Mount Fuji. This ominous series of tragedies caused a mass exodus of passengers who preferred safer modes of transport, including the high-speed rail line connecting Tokyo and Osaka. Japan Airlines and All Nippon Airways were forced to announce a reduction in the number of flights between the 2 largest cities in Japan. A curious fact: a group of screenwriters and producers working on the creation of the 5th film about the legendary James Bond, You Only Live Twice, including Albert Broccoli himself, were supposed to be on board Flight 911. They planned to scout locations for future filming, but at the last moment they returned their tickets, deciding to stay in Tokyo and enjoy the exotic spectacle, a ninja performance.